Welcome to a revamped episode of The Dart Show, where we're going to talk all things darts and premiere the upcoming Premier events. Today, I'm joined by two fountains of knowledge in the darting world. We've got former World Championship quarterfinalist Chris Mason, and a man who loves darts so much he made it his middle name, Dan Dawson. I'm Will Simpson. Thank you for joining me, guys. Thank you.
Pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Chris, just on the World Championship just gone, the darts has been non-stop. We've had loads of events since then as well, but how great was that World Championship?
Yeah, I think we say it every year. I think it's the best one ever, but this was the one where we extended the field to 128. I was a little bit worried it was going to be diluted, but all it created was drama and great stories, and yeah, some incredible darts, and all rounded off by a slightly disappointing final, but that was more to do with Luke Littler, who was just outstanding from start to finish, and a worthy champion, and someone who's done something that only three other players have done. And listen, he's on for the three-peat, isn't he? And he would join the likes of Phil Taylor and Eric Bristow, who did it in 84, 85, 86. So he will be in some special company. And who's to say that he can't do that?
It's quite scary stuff, isn't it?
Well, he could win it three times on the spin and still be a teenager.
It's crazy.
It is remarkable, the temperament of the young man, and the way he goes about his business is inspirational, genuinely inspirational.
And the darts hasn't stopped there as well. Dan, you were at Q School in Milton Keynes. How was that?
Exciting, emotional, surprising, all those sort of stuff. Cristo Reyes making his way back onto the tour after half a decade away. So yeah, all brilliant. Although I did just catch a little bit of your theme tune at the start, that ropey choice, by the way. Ropey choice. So that would be Connor. So yeah, blame him.
We'll blame Connor. Well, upcoming, we've got interviews with the world number 8, Ryan Searle. We'll also have an interview with the new world number 3 and Dutch number 1, Gian van Veen, so stay tuned for those. But first up, we're going to talk about the upcoming Winmau World Masters event, which starts on Thursday, January 29th. A really nice event, a new format in that. Chris, we've got the new format. Talk us through how that works exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it was always an event that you felt that was there, and when the original World Masters, which started all the way back in '73, when the WDF dropped that format, it was ideal for us to reincarnate it, and we did last year. It went down a storm. The viewers, the fans there, and the players absolutely love it. Best of 3 legs, best of 5 sets. It is cutthroat. You never feel like you're in front. I lost in the semi-finals of it in '99 or 2000, and was miles in front, but you never feel like you're in front because you're one break away from leveling things up. And whether it's you in front or you behind, you're always under pressure. And the qualifiers are going to be incredible going into it as well, because there's some big names that have missed out. I can't wait.
Dan, in terms of those preliminary rounds, they're taking place on Wednesday. Any names you expect to emerge from those?
It's difficult because there's only a limited number of spots to play for, and as you've already mentioned, the format, even in the qualifiers, it is brutal. Set play gives you important visits or important legs, but this is set play on steroids. They just come around even more regularly. But I'm really interested to see some of the guys from Q School. Cristo Reyes already mentioned. Jimmy Van Schie is one of those players who I think could be a massive asset to PDC darts. But then there's a whole look at all the other players who aren't in those rankings. There's some big names who are having to come through the qualifiers, whether it be Wright or whoever. But there's somebody like Dirk. I'll say it, Dirk. I always mention Dirk because you don't know what he's going to do. But he has the capacity to do the spectacular. But Van Schie, Reyes, the usual suspects, and some of the big names who've dropped out, so they're having to do the qualifiers. I think it's going to make it very interesting.
In terms of the draw as well, the draw was just concluded on Monday. If my beautiful assistant wouldn't mind just flicking my laptop very slightly, thank you so much.
Very well done.
That's a great thing. We've got the draw bracket in front of us now. So we've got some qualifier spots still to go ahead of the preliminary stage. But Chris, are there any standout ties for you there from the already decided ones?
Well, there's one there that's absolutely brutal. Watamina versus Cristo, a horrible draw for both. Watamina's form into the back end of 2025 was fabulous. Didn't quite work out for him in the end, but he was another one that was on our shortlist who looked likely, if outside of your big two, the two Lukes, it was someone like Van Veen or someone like Watamina. And that's a real toughie for both. Gurney Noppert, another interesting tie. Yeah, it's all about who's going to come through the qualifiers. Got a feel for Dave Chisnell there. He could have done with a slightly easier opening game against Luke Humphries, who will be looking to prove a point in 2026. I can assure you of that.
I think the intriguing one for me is MVG versus Damon Hatter. Now, look, Van Goen has started the year well on the World Series, which I think is significant because you look at the last couple of years and it has taken him a long while to get a title of any sort. We're talking months. I think last year it was Easter before he won one. In terms of a ranking one, it looked like he might not win one at all in previous years. However, Damon Hetter's having probably his toughest period in PDC darts the last few months. He's had some time off. He's been back in Oz. I don't know if he comes back refreshed and rejuvenated and the player that he has been for all the rest of his time in PDC darts, a guy who wins more games than pretty much anybody in PDC darts. There are very few who win more. I know he plays everything, but he's constantly in quarters, semis, finals, winning titles on the floor, has one on the Euro Tour, has one on the World Series. I really want to see a big year from Damon Hatter, and I think this is, it's our first chance to see what kind of year he might produce.
And it'd be interesting to see how Michael responds with this being a ranking event. The events that he has won, the World Series finals, and of course the World Series in Bahrain, although they're great events and they're prestigious, they're not ranking events. And he's got, I think it's over 70% of his prize money to defend in 2026, or he's going to find himself down the rankings with the likes of Peter Wright, etc. So yeah, it's a big year for Michael, but I'm with Dan. I think the 95% version of Damon Hatter could pull off what would be a bit of a surprise.
It's a big year for Van Gogh, and like you say, he's down to 20th in the tour card race, so there's a lot to play for Michael. In terms of this World Masters then, we've got some predictions for you guys to make. If we start off in this first round, who do you think is a name that's at risk of going out, an early shock exit perhaps? Should we start with you, Dan?
I mean, look, Dobie's the one. I think Watermana is the nightmare draw for anybody who's a seed. But because where we're sat talking now at this point in time, we don't know who all the qualifiers are. I think there's going to be some really tasty ties thrown up. If I'm somebody like, take your pick, Stephen Bunting, I think, has got a point to prove, because in the big TV events, last year was amazing and people overlooked this. He won 6 titles, number 1 on the World Series, number 2 in Europe, up there in the Pro Tour. The TV stuff didn't go as well as he wanted. I think this is a chance for him just to remind everybody that he is one of the best players in the world and justifies his world ranking, which I believe he does, just on the weight of his titles in the last 12 months. But if that's Jimmy Van Ski, say, or if that's Dirk van Dijvenbode, or whoever, there's, in a particularly brutal format, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and Bunty, you could tell with sort of the reaction to some of the things he's done and said in interviews, and you can tell he's conscious of what everyone else thinks, and unfortunately in an individual sport you've got to be almost immune to it and it go over your head. With him it doesn't, he takes it quite personally, so will work one or two ways. If he's happy that he's been included in the Premier League and he's not really took too much notice of the negative stuff that's been thrown at him, he'd be fine. But if he goes out there wanting to prove a point, sometimes that can be counterproductive and backfire on him. If Watermana beat Dobie, or if Dobie Watermana, neither would be a shock.
No.
I think they're on par at the moment in terms of where their games are right now. In terms of a shock, I think because Michael is still a bit of an unknown quantity in terms of reliability and consistency, I think Hatter could pull that one. I think it would be the biggest shock of them all, because Michael's just coming off the win, looks comfortable, looks happy, looks likely at the moment. But yeah, that wouldn't. I mean, it would be a shock to everybody else. Certainly wouldn't be a shock to me or Dan.
And look, I can see a couple of qualifiers winning.
Yeah.
We don't know who they are, but at the moment, but I can certainly see them winning games and maybe having a big impact in this tournament.
It's the joy of darts, isn't it, that anyone can win? And just coming on to that, have we got any dark horses here? Anyone that you think can make deep runs or even lift a silverware? Taken away from the obvious candidates.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the seeds you can't really include in that conversation, but it'll be fascinating come sort of Wednesday evening when we know the full field and the qualifiers have been done, because we covered the qualifiers will of course be on PDC TV. It's brutal. We've seen some incredible performances, and unable to back them up. But listen, someone could come through that qualifier, like you said, Jimmy Van Schie, who literally will light that stage up. He loves being on that stage. Won the WDF against an incredible young talent in Mitchell Lowry. So, you can't ignore people like James Wade or Gary Anderson. Would they be sort of classed as outsiders?
Well, I'll tell you who would be classed as an outsider. Rob Cross at the minute is classed as an outsider.
Yeah, his form's a worry.
But we know that Rob Cross, when he's playing well, can win anything. Yep. He's won the biggest tournament. Now, Rob Cross is going to have to go to qualifiers for Euro Tours. Yes. Rob Cross has an awful lot of stuff to do this year. But were he to go on and reach the final of this, or win it, a lot of those problems just start melting away.
I think if this was in 3 months' time, and he has come through and got those European places via the qualifiers and was playing a lot of darts, I think his problem is he's not playing enough. I think he has too much downtime, and that's something that he'll have to put right in 2026. He's in a precarious position.
Yeah, not a common problem nowadays, is it?
No.
Not playing enough. But yeah, Rob Cross is actually a dark horse, and there's not many. He was number 4 seed for this last year.
Quite a drop, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's quite a drop.
It's not dark horse territory, but I think as outside the top 16 for a tournament like the Masters, he actually falls into the dark horse category.
And Aspinall's form can't be ignored either. He's playing some lovely stuff.
Yeah. In terms of a winner then, we've got Luke Humphries as the reigning champion. This is one of the only trophies that Luke Littler hasn't won, one of only 2 Premier events. Do we see anyone else winning other than those 2? Do you think, Dan?
I can easily see it. I mean, I know that there are people throwing their hands up going, darts is broken and nobody's ever going to win anything ever again because Luke Littler's going to win everything. I don't believe it. Even in the height of Van Gerwen's pomp and Taylor's pomp, there were still some titles that were not won by them. Admittedly, at their very best, not many. But I think that there are opportunities, particularly in this format, for even the best players to be beaten. So while yes, Littler will be the favourite, I can see some. I could see Ross Smith beat him. I could see Mike the Decker beating him in the first round. He very nearly beat him in the Grand Slam, of course, a couple of years ago. However, he's the favourite and deserves to be.
Yeah, Luke's not doing anything that we've not seen before. All right, the occasional records, that incredible set average last year, but.
So a few things that we've not seen before.
Well, not really. He's not reinventing the wheel. He's not doing things that Humphries hasn't done, or Price hasn't done, or Rock hasn't done, or MVG hasn't done.
He's doing things that Rock hasn't done.
Well, yeah. Well, but look at their best averages. Their
Yeah.
personal best stuff, right? I'm talking about their ceiling, right? Yeah. What he does is listen, when it's a one-way street of a match and you're just blowing someone away 6-0 and average 115, that's all well and good. What the difference between Littler and everybody else right now is when you apply that pressure on Littler, rather than him sort of meet in the middle somewhere, he goes up. He just raises that level. He raises the intensity, and it all comes down to the temperament, which he shouldn't have. He's a teenager, but some people are just made to do this, and I just believe this is what he was born to do, and he does it with such flair and style, which is why there's so much interest in our sport right now, because if you're a sports fan, never mind a darts fan, you can't take your eyes off him. He's just compelling viewing.
So in this short format with first to 2 legs in a set, is this the moment that you can beat Littler? I mean, it's only his second appearance at the World Masters, but how do you beat him? Is it the short format?
And this is one that he wants on his resume.
Yeah.
He's not
one
it yet.
One of 2 Premier events he's missing, so it's a big one for him.
Look, you can be beaten. You've just got to be really good. You've got to be really good. You've got to score well, and you've got to take your chances. And that's that World Final, which is an absolute battering of Gian van Veen. Gian had a chance to go 2-0 up in that. If he does that, is that game different? Does Littler get into his stride? He's going to have these spells where he starts to dominate, but if you take your chances, even Christoph Ratajski, who got annihilated by him. He missed darts for 1 set. There was another set, Littler won with a 170, which could have gone the other way. That's no longer 5-0. That's 3-2. It's a different game. But you've got to take those chances, and you've got to keep on doing it. You've got to do it right to the end. It's really, really difficult.
Yeah, and listen, if you don't get him early, it's unlikely you're going to get him late over the longer formats, because he does has this ability to play in these streaks. And what Dan said, there's been evidence of it in multiple tournaments where you could be got at. Taylor was no different. Michael was the same. But if you don't take those opportunities and give yourself a bit of a cushion, so when they do have these spells, you can just ride it out, and then hopefully they dip off a bit, and then you have your little streak. Because
Jesse Price could have beaten him in 3, maybe even 4 big, major, late-stage games last year. So everyone at the Grand Prix remembers the Premier League, certainly. There were others besides. He let those positions slip. He'd done that brilliant work to get in the winning position, couldn't quite kill it off, because you have to keep doing it right to the end, and that is the issue.
Yeah, it's leg on leg, and then especially in the Worlds, it's set on set pressure, but the leg on leg pressure, this is sort of somewhere in the middle. This is tricky territory for every player in it, because like I said, you never feel comfortable. I mean, we've seen a fabulous match between Johnny Clayton last year and Luke, wasn't it? And
great game.
Yeah, and that just shows you the intricacies of this format. It's something that I don't think anybody will ever master this format, because it is just horrible.
So if I can have one name from both of you, who's going to lift the trophy? Just the name, no explanation. Who are we going for? Dan?
Cristo Reyes.
It's quite unbold of you, that choice. I was expecting bolder, Dan.
No, listen, I don't like doing it because it just seems easy. But again, I'm a stats man. I'm a numbers cruncher. I look at it. I try and see ways of how he can be beat. But if you go according to form, numbers, and everything else, there's only one winner, and that's Luke Littler.
There are predictions. So now we've got to talk to someone whose name hasn't been mentioned. Maybe he's flying under the radar despite a World Championship semi-final run.
We know what he wants! Super sensational Searle! Lights up the slam with a fabulous 9-darter!
And we are joined today by the man, the myth, the heavy metal Ryan Searle himself. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you feeling right now and just ahead of the World Masters coming up?
Yeah, feeling good. I've not been putting a huge amount of practice in since the Worlds. So I'm going to start on that today. I've got have a little half hour this morning. I've got a couple of friends coming around tonight, and go from there basically.
Ryan, I want to ask you, that World Championship campaign, obviously it's the best one you've had at Ali Pali. I know you've won titles on the tour and you've reached a major final before, but how different is it going very deep at the World Championship than all the other things you've done in the game?
It's very different. I think people don't, without playing in a semi-final or even a quarter-final, just the amount of eyes that are on the game and the amount of pressure that comes with that, and it's very difficult to deal with.
How so though? Like, because you're a pretty chill guy anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty chill, but I don't know. Especially against Johnny, I think that my whole goal before the Worlds was to make the quarter-final. And I think I was pretty focused, and I played pretty well up until then. I think I just got to the quarterfinal and I just sort of lacked a bit. I felt like I sort of achieved my goal really. It was a bit weird, but I just didn't feel like I just had the same oomph behind me as what I had in the matches before. But I was fortunate enough to get through that game against Johnny. He missed more than a few doubles, and then obviously got bashed up by Littler. So. If you said I was going to make the semi before the tournament, I would definitely have taken it, and it's a lot of lessons learned going forward.
Did you do anything different in terms of preparation for this Worlds?
I did switch my darts just before Minehead. Like I say, I just felt like I was getting a bit lazy on the practice board, and I just felt like I needed to switch something up just to get me throwing a bit more and play decent at Minehead. I was absolutely battering Watamina on stage 2, and so I think I was 4-1 up, and I ended up being 5-4 down. I just all of a sudden lost the plot, and I don't really know what happened because I was absolutely flying, and kind of threw that game away, which frustrated me, and just went home straight back on the practice board, and got ready for the Worlds, and I felt like I played some pretty solid stuff. I think my finishing was really good. I think I was over 50% for the whole tournament, and I think most players would take that.
Ryan, I'm interested in your take on this, because I don't think there's any question about the talent you've got, because we've seen you produce it in spells, usually at the start of the year, so the Masters might be a nice little time for you.
Yeah, you say that, but I've not really ever played well at the Masters. I seem to sort of turn up at the Masters and play some pretty average stuff and then sort of kick on from there. So
Yeah, but like February Searle. February Searle is the best darts player on the planet.
is it February or is it March? I can't
Maybe
remember.
it's March, yeah, but it's
Yeah,
spring.
it's March. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then maybe it is too early for you. But like, how much of it is talent and how much of it is attitude in terms of success? Do you think? Because I know you said before that you weren't that bothered about travelling. You feel like you put more effort into that now. I don't know if you feel that a change in attitude has actually been one of the reasons why you did so well at Ali Pali or not. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I'm just used to the travelling now. I don't enjoy it any more than what I did before, but it's all part and parcel of being a professional dart player. You're away a lot. You make a lot of sacrifices. You miss a lot of family birthdays and different things like that. But you can't make the money in the game without making sacrifices. So it's all part of it. My attitude, I don't really know if it's changed a huge amount. Something I'm trying to work on, but
Well, maybe it doesn't need to change. I mean, it's working, isn't it?
I'm just a laid back guy. It's like I think it's hard to all of a sudden become a bit more intense. I don't know.
And that could be counterproductive anyway.
Yeah, bang on.
We've seen it before where players just sort of maybe overanalyze or become too aggressive or too laid back. And I think just being you. But back to the Masters, irrelevant of what success or disappointment you've had there, do you actually like the format? Because it's a little bit different to anything else that you would have been used to playing.
Yeah, it's different. There's a lot more big moments that come up more often, if you know what I mean. So, you can be. I think I was 3-1 up against Johnny last year, and I ended up losing 4-3 or something. But it's built for comebacks, that format, because there's only one break of throw and they'll hold and they've won a set. So it's hard, and I think there were some great games there last year, and it's great for the viewers. It's great drama.
Yeah, and listen, having played it a lot back in the old World Masters, you never feel like you've got a moment where you're not under pressure. Like you say, you could be 2-0 up and a leg up, and you're a break away from everything being tied up. It's fascinating for the viewer and the spectator, but as a player, it's great when you win, but it is a brutal format.
Yeah, like you say, you just never really feel comfortable, and it is very cutthroat for sure.
And Ryan, you've got a former world champion, Rob Cross, in your opening match. You've had a few good battles with him before in the past. How are you feeling ahead of that one in particular?
Yeah, I think that's a really tough draw, to be honest. I think he played some decent stuff at the Worlds, and he's had stuff going on behind the scenes, and I'm expecting it to be a really tough game. So I think overall he's probably up on me as far as matches go, and I think the last time he played I played him at the match play. Not last year, the sort of year before, and he averaged 107 against me. I think it was the highest average of the tournament. So you can cut that out. I don't want no more of that, to be honest.
Ryan, you're going into this as world number 8, right? What do you feel like world number 8? Are you looking around the world darts going, yeah, I am world number 8. Gary's at number 6. I'm world number. This all makes sense. That's where I deserve to be, and that's where I should be. Do you feel like that?
No, I think I said in multiple interviews that it doesn't really feel like I'm world number 8. I don't think my results consistently really mean I deserve to be number 8. I think I'm that off of one good run. So is that right? I don't really think so. You look at someone like Danny Noppert, was absolutely flying. I think he made 5 major semis and stuff. I think he's probably more deserving and obviously being more consistent. But with the way that the world's prize money is now, that's what's going to happen to people's rankings.
And you can have a nice little battle with Gary for the rest of the year for bragging rights. And of course, you said about the travelling. You've got a lovely little unit now that you travel with. I've spent a bit of time with you yourself, Ian White, Gary. It's a nice little clique you have. You all enjoy each other's company.
Yeah. I mean, Gary and Ian White. Ian White's nuts. If you never spent any time with Ian White, he's absolutely nuts. He is. He's great to be around. He's a really good laugh, and obviously me and Gary get on well, and we try and travel together as much as we can. It doesn't always work like that. With Euro tours, I'm trying to convince him to do pretty much everyone, but
good luck with that.
As far as the traveling is, but I'm trying my hardest to get him to all these. So I'll try and work.
Maybe when you get close to overtaking him in the rankings, you'll see him start to travel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so maybe a little run at the Masters there.
Maybe a little side bet: who's higher ranked at the end of the year? Maybe that inspire you both.
I don't know if I fancy that because he's pretty good, Gary. So I don't know.
Just finally from me, Ryan. Look, you said you set yourself a target of getting to the quarterfinals of the Worlds. You exceeded that. Do you have a target for this year? I mean, a big stage title, or is it win more titles than last year? Now that you can win multiple titles in a year, it turns out.
Oh yeah, managed to get 2 last year, so broke that duck. But I'd like to win a Euro Tour. I think I have. I should have won one in Switzerland, not last year, the year before. But yeah, I think a Euro Tour title is probably the next step for me. It's very tough at the top when you got Littler there. It's hard. I think it doesn't matter how well you play. I think he just always can up his game and just find a way to, you know what I mean? I think you probably agree that he would just find a way, no matter how well you play, to just do you, basically. So I don't really know what you've got to do to beat him. So, yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult to win a major with him around if he's in form. But I'm happy fighting for the scraps,
Well, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today. Good luck at the Masters and for the year ahead as well.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Take care. That was Ryan Searle there, the new world number 8. Chris, what can we expect from him at the Masters? Do you think he'll go far?
Yeah, there's no reason why not. He's got the game. He's very laid back, as you could see from that interview. He's pretty much should be horizontal, but I think he's got a great attitude. I don't think I'd sort of change much. He openly admits he probably could work a little bit harder, but some players don't need to do it, and what works for me wouldn't work for him. But yeah, brilliant World Championships, and look forward to seeing him at the Masters.
And Dan, you asked him, but I'm going to ask you, do you think Ryan Searle deserves to be world number 8?
He's got the ability. Like, his top level game is absolutely magnificent, and when you see him find the range on the treble 20 and tops, it just looks so simple for him. I think he does tend to lose interest as the year goes on, and he's openly spoken about that. I think he was a little bit better last year, and ultimately it's culminated in that brilliant run at the World Championship. And so, look, if he can keep on doing that, then why not? Why not establish yourself in that top 10 and stay there for a while? Because ultimately, if he does that for the next 4 years, he sets himself up for life.
Well, speaking of someone establishing themselves, we've now got another interview coming up with someone who's risen and had a fantastic one at the World Championship himself.
For Van Veen, is he going to get more? Top treble 16 for double. Gets it.
Can he put this away? Double 16 for his first major title. You can see the tension. He's got it! And he roars
And the 2020
his delight.
Machine Seeker.
And what a way to do
European
it.
Champion.
He waited so long. I wondered whether he was putting himself unnecessarily under pressure, but that has been a great performance.
And we are in the presence of a European champion, Gian van Veen. Thank you for joining us today. How are you feeling ahead of the World Masters coming up?
Yeah, feeling good. Looking forward to getting back into the majors after the successful 2025, and I can't wait to get started again.
After success in the World Series, you've made the final in Bahrain and had a good couple games in Saudi as well. How are you feeling after those 2 games? Because you put in some good performances.
Yeah, feeling good. Especially after the Worlds. I didn't touch a dart before I went to Bahrain because, a couple of days off, couple of days nicely in the Dubai sun. So it was a bit, I felt it the first game, especially in Bahrain, but to come away with the final and, yeah, she said some decent performances in Saudi. Yeah, felt quite happy with those, and, nothing to complain about, really.
Hi, Jan. Are you getting fed up of playing Michael van Gerwen in finals of stuff? Because, it does... You're Dutch number 1 now, which is incredible. That must feel amazing. But Michael van Gerwen, do you think there is a thing about Dutch players when they play him particularly, perhaps more so than players from anywhere else in the world?
Maybe a little bit, yeah. I'm fed up with him playing in finals, yeah. That's very true. He cost me 2 European Tour titles and a World Series now, so I think that's about enough. But no, it's I always like to play Michael. Of course, being Dutchman, I always looked up to him. So to play him in finals is of course amazing. But yeah, it's time to get one over him, of course.
Does it feel different playing Michael than playing anybody else? Even if it was Humphreys or whoever.
Yeah, a little bit. I think all the players would agree that Michael has got some kind of aura around him. Especially for me, being from Holland, you can definitely feel it. So it's always a bit special to play Michael. I still remember the first time playing him. I was so nervous because it was Michael van Gerwen. Now, of course, that's a whole different story, but it's always special playing him. Yeah.
And of course, the opportunity this year to play with him in the World Cup.
Yeah, that would be amazing, of course, if he decides to play. You never know with Michael, especially with all the stuff that happened with him the last couple of months, and it could always change. But he told me it's on his calendar for now, so that would be amazing, yeah, to play with Michael. Especially as a Dutchman, growing up, I always thought Michael was going to be the Dutch number one. So if you want to play in the World Cup, you need to be number two. So yeah, if that happens, it would be an honor, of course.
What's the reaction been like back home after making the final of the Worlds?
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been hectic, of course. All the Dutch newspapers and television programs are inviting you to tell your story about who you are. And of course, it was a bit, it wasn't out of the blue, but no one would probably expect me to go all the way to the final. So but it's nice to get that recognition. So yeah, it was very good.
Have you got plans for the money? Have you spent any of it yet?
No, no, not really. No. No, I'm just gonna save up. My girlfriend and I bought a house 6 months ago, so it's always good to have some savings for the mortgage and stuff.
That's a very sensible and boring answer, Gian.
Yeah,
Well done.
I would have done exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna buy a Lamborghini, I think.
Nice.
Well, I remember the snooker player, Brissell, when he went out and bought a Ferrari straight away.
Yeah.
My kind of thing.
I think Adam Gavlas spent every penny he earned from his
Yeah.
semi-final run of the UK Open on a car. I'm not sure it's the wisest move. Gian, you are number 3 in the world. I'll ask you the same question that I asked Ryan Searle earlier. Do you feel like number 3? Do you feel like the third best player in the world? I mean, some people have been talking about, it's all the 2 Lukes at the top and then everybody else. But if there's anybody who's forcing their way into that duopoly, it's you, isn't it?
I think maybe like performance-wise, I feel definitely in the top 4 of the world. I think 2025 showed my averages, my double percentage, 180 scoring stuff. I think I've definitely in the top 4, but I think result-wise, maybe not yet. Of course, European Championship and the World Championship were 2 very, very good tournaments, but the World Championship is the prize money is very inflated on the rankings, of course. But yeah, I don't feel like I don't belong here now.
Do you think that you could have picked up a whole load more titles though? I mean, if you look at, say, obviously the Euro Tour, it's close to my heart. For so many months, people were doing mad things to beat you. 110 averages, 107 averages. You're losing despite playing brilliantly. And that can't go on forever. Sometimes you're going to get that luck and you win that title. And ultimately, kind of happened at the European Championship. And then you played brilliantly at the Worlds as well. But you must feel like the next 12 months, there are more titles on the way, and probably more than one, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it feels like it. I think, as I said, my performances have been there to win more titles than I have done so far. But yeah, I've been a bit unlucky in some games last year. Hopefully, it's not the case this year. But it's going to be loads of tournaments this year, and I think if I keep performing the way I have done in 2025, hopefully, it's going to be a few titles there.
How are the darts working out? Because I know you use a very grippy dart, which at some points, especially during the Worlds, because it's such a long tournament, and people don't realise the hard work's done in the practice room where you do spend hours preparing for that match. Have you adapted them in any way or got a file on them?
No, I haven't. No, I like them being that grippy. Of course, it's a bit risky. We saw it at the European Championship with cutting my thumb open. It's not ideal, but it's something we're working on, me and the guys at Red Dragon. But we haven't done anything about it so far because there wasn't really too much time in the schedule to do it. But we're planning to look into it this year to see like not major depth like changes on the dart, but we're going to see how we can cope with that kind of stuff. Yeah,
make them have the same amount of grip but not as sharp.
Yeah.
Gian, just looking to the World Masters now, the draw's been confirmed and you've got Brian Joyce in your opening match. How does it feel, first off, knowing who your opponent is, and secondly, that opponent being Ryan Joyce?
Yeah, I think it's for myself, it's a benefit that I know who I'm going to play. Of course, now a couple of days out, I know what I can be, what I can prepare for. But also, like Ryan, of course, he hasn't played in a PDC tournament since the World, so that's about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And if you play a qualifier, they're full of confidence because the day before they just came through the qualifier. So I think that can always be risky. That's you always got to play a player in form. So yeah, I like to know who I'm gonna play, and yeah, of course, Ryan Joyce is a very dangerous opponent. Everyone know if he give him a couple of darts at the double, he's 100% gonna take it out. So it's all about outscoring him in that game, I think. And yeah, the last times I've played him, I've done that. So hopefully that's gonna be the same case this week.
I mean, it's arguably the two best finishers in the sport right now, in you and Ryan Joyce. Again, do you look around and go, yeah, I am as good or better than anyone when it comes to hitting doubles? Because it's arguably the most important part of the game.
Yeah, of course, it's very important. I think so. Yeah, I think I can say that by myself. If I look at the stats of 2025, I had on stage is a record-breaking double percentage. So I think that's something I know that's like a strong aspect of my game. But it's especially in such a short format on coming Thursday against Ryan. It's always going to be tricky. But yeah, I think it's probably two of the best finishes in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Something me and Dan look at a lot and looked at a lot last year in these kind of scenarios, looking of where our next winner or our next first-time winner is going to come from. And in the middle of the year, me, I think it was around match play time, me and Dan were looking at his numbers along with Gezi Price, but the one who's going to win one for the first time. And every time we looked at these stats and put them together, it kept coming up with the same name, Gian van Veen, over and over again, because every metric pointed that he's going to be the next one. And ironically, he was.
Yeah.
How do you put up with all the noise, like idiots like me and him talking about you, and people on social media or pundits or whoever? How do you put up with people going, this guy's going to win things, or this guy should be winning things, or this guy should have won more things already?
Yeah, I don't try. I try to not look too much into that. Of course, it's nice that everyone knows I'm playing well and they're tipping you to win stuff, but to win tournaments. But you know what? I'm just trying to play my own game. It's can be tricky at times because, as you said, all the good performances I've had thrown against me, especially on the European tour last year, it can be very frustrating. But I just try to, yeah, as all the players say, play my own game and just do what I've been doing. And yeah, I think the results will come my way then.
Do you feel like in not just winning the Europeans, but of course making the finals, do you feel like now there's a bit of pressure off because you've sort of given yourself now time to develop more into a more rounded player, or do you feel now there's a target?
I think a bit of both. I think especially people, not per se the other players, but people outside on social media, they're going to expect you to do more. Like number 3 in the world, you should be in semi-finals or majors or maybe even winning. But
If only it was that easy.
yeah. I wish it was that easy. But no, I just try to do what I've been doing the past 2 3 years, and don't put too much pressure on myself.
And Gian, upcoming as well after the World Masters, we've got the Premier League around the corner as well on February the 5th. It's your first time in it. How exciting is that for you?
Very exciting, especially when I got the call up, it was already exciting. But last week when we saw the schedule, who I'm going to play in all the venues, that made it feel even more real, seeing my name in all those 16 weeks. And it's something I'm very much looking forward to, all the sold out massive venues, playing the best players in the world. So yeah, it's something I'm very excited for.
How are you going to manage this year? Premier League, World Series, all the big TV events, all the Pro Tour ones. I mean, are you going to try and play everything, or are you already looking at where you can take some time off?
Yeah, I've had a look with my management yesterday to see what we're going to play and what we're not going to play. I'm planning on playing all the Europeans, not all 34 player championships. No, I don't think that's possible. And I think you're going to burn yourself out come April, May. So that's definitely not the plan. I'll probably skip a few early on and just put my 100% focus in the Europeans and all the majors in the Premier League, and then after the Premier League finish, I think there's enough time for the player championships.
Do you not look at what happened with Michael van Gerwen last year and think, hang on, maybe I'd be better off getting my money won earlier, and then I don't have to be chasing it at the end? Because even MVG obviously failed to get to Minehead last year.
Yeah, that's true. I've thought about that, and like I'm not going to play anything during the Premier League. I'm going to play the first 4 player championships. Hopefully, a couple of deep runs in them, and then that gives you a bit of breathing space. So it's not like I'm not going to play anything. I'm going to play as much as I can. But yeah, as I said, it's I don't want to be burned out and out of breath come April or May.
And we've seen plenty of evidence of that towards the back end of 2025, where players who did play in pretty much everything had very little left towards the back end of the year, which is your priority. I know it's great to qualify for everything, but you want to be as fresh as a daisy come December.
Yeah, indeed. And I think, as you said, the back end of the year is where all the majors are, where all the prize money and the ranking points are to be earned. So I think, yeah, you need to be ready for those months, and yeah, don't wear yourself out in the first couple of months.
And Gian, just the last one from me. You said earlier about being world number 3 that you weren't sure if you had enough kind of titles to warrant that. In a way, you hinted towards that. What's the aim this year? Is it, do you want titles? Do you want silverware? Or have you got different ambitions?
I always want titles, of course, but thinking about it, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to win this, that. I'm going to win 3 majors this year. My goal for this year.
Do that. Peter Wright does that. Just do that.
I'm going to win the World Match Play. Grand Slam sounds nice. No, my goal is just to get to quarterfinals and semi-finals and majors. Winning a European Tour would be nice for the first time, and just do well in the majors. I'm not defending a whole lot this year, so hopefully at the end of the year I can be world number 2.
Ooh, I like that as a goal. Good one. I like it.
Well, Gian, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Good luck at the World Masters and the Premier League coming up as well.
Cheers, guys. Appreciate it.
That was Gian van Veen there with some strong claims that he thinks he could get up to world number 2 possibly. Do you see it happening, Chris?
Yeah, listen, Humphries has got a ton of money to defend this year. He's going to be the one that's looking over his shoulder. Gian's got not a great deal to defend in 2026, and it's a big possibility. And listen, he showed what he's made of. We've been keeping tabs on him probably for the last 4 or 5 years down, haven't we? When he started off playing down at the Super Series down in Southampton
with dartitis, by the way,
yes,
and then got better whilst having dartitis. The only person in the history of the sport to do that. But I think what you heard there. Look, he knows the stats. He knows the numbers. He knows there's a reason he said he reckons he can get to number 2, and it's because of that. He knows that Humphries is defending a load of money. He knows he's not defending much himself, and he believes that his ability and the levels that he has shown are good enough to keep on moving up. I think a lot of them are looking at Littler and going, that's not going to be overhauled for some time, and I'm going to have to find something else to match and beat him on a consistent basis. But he has beaten Littler a couple of times on the Euro Tour in the last 12 months. He is a thorn in Littler's side, and I think it's going to be very interesting watching him continue to develop. And I think the Premier League is a big part of that.
And I think because they competed at youth level, there's not that fear factor that probably sort of my generation of players would have. But if you look at Van Veen's numbers and you put it on a graph, it's for the last 3 years it's just doing that and doing that. There's no plateau, there's no leveling out, there's no dip. He's just up and up and up, and he's the one who looks outside of established players like Humphries and Price and many others. He's the one that is on the upward trajectory and looking like he's maybe got the game and enough room to improve to seriously take on Littler as the best player in the world, I think.
Well, it's a match we don't have to wait for too long, because on the first night of the BetMGM Premier League in Newcastle on February 5th, we've got Littler versus Van Veen in our opening round match. I mean, we didn't have to wait too long, did we, Dan? It's a decent match.
It's a bit of a tradition, isn't it?
Yeah, repeat the world final. Look, I think it'll probably end up closer than the world final, but I don't. Look, it's a chance. When Littler played his first Premier League campaign after he'd made his run to the final, I expected him to qualify for the playoffs. I didn't expect him to be as dominant as he was. But we knew a bit less about Littler than we know about Gian. But as Mace is saying, the guy's getting better and better. I love his attitude. He's so professional. He is so level-headed, and I just think the world is his oyster.
I mean, you win all that money, as we've seen in the interview, you know, and he's a young guy. You wouldn't fault him if he said, "Oh, I'm going to just go and blast a bit." No, just put it away.
Very different player from Chris Mason.
Yeah, very different. It would have been, mine would have been gone by now.
Yeah.
I'd have probably somehow messed up.
You wouldn't have made the Zoom call.
No, I wouldn't. No. But yeah, it's a fascinating opening night. And listen, there's Bunty up against MVG. You know, Bunty had a torrid time last year. Didn't play badly. We were talking about this on the way here today. His numbers didn't reflect the rewards. But an opening night against Van Gerwen, who's one of the most successful Premier League players ever. Humphreys against Price, Rock versus Clayton. I mean, that's, again, a guy that knows how to win the Premier League against a guy dipping his toes in. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Premier League this year. I think it's fascinating for all the right reasons. I think on reflection, we've said it before, I think Bunty, I think we have a lot of recency bias and we look at what he did at the back end of the back quarter of the year and lost focus on what he achieved. I think he said he was World Series ranked number one, number European number two,
6 titles,
top 4 in terms of your Pro Tour Order of Merit. The guy ticked all the boxes, but I think because there was so much drama towards the back end of the year, and you know what you're going to do. I like Danny Noppert, and I didn't have a problem with him being in it. But you're going to have a guy who won 6 titles against a guy who didn't win any. You know, I think it speaks for itself, but Bunty does have a lot to prove.
And the first Northern Irishman to enter the Premier League since Daryl Gurney, Josh Rock, making his debut. That's an exciting one, Dan.
Yeah, look, he's hugely exciting. I think that maybe you could go back to the World Cup where he was astonishingly
ridiculous
good.
180s in that
fight. Well, the whole I mean, he was hitting 180s about one every other leg for the tournament. And he wasn't even having all the throws in the... Like, it didn't make any sense. But the thing is, you've got 8 world-class players there. They are all genuinely brilliant. Somebody's going to finish bottom of that. Somebody's going to finish 7th. And it's very likely that those guys aren't even really going to be in the mix for the playoffs. That's just what happens. Rob Cross, world champion, world match play winner, etc., etc., 2-time European champion. The bloke is like the forgotten man of last year's Premier League. People forget he was even in it because he just didn't do anything really. Obviously, people remember Bunting. Bunting actually played well, as you said. Won 1 week, but it was just those consecutive defeats in the first sort of 7-8 weeks that meant that he was never going to be challenging. Somebody is going to have a nightmare Premier League out of that. And I don't think that there is anybody obvious you can point to and just go, well, it's obviously going to be him, unless people are tainted by what Bunting's Premier League campaign last year was like. But if he plays the same, it won't be that.
No, absolutely not. And I think he got done. Was it 7 weeks on the trot and then won the 8th week?
I think it was 8 and 9. Maybe I think it was. It was in Berlin. Wasn't it?
That shows character. If anything, that shows you the character of the man, because we've seen players who have been in that position that, you know, it's effectively done people for the rest of their career because of the pressure on them. I think he showed.
Has it though? Has it ruined careers?
No, Wes Newton, Andy Hamilton. They were in the same after.
Were they not?
No.
I still think they were doing what they were doing before.
Maybe. I don't
know.
We'll have a look at the numbers. That'll give us something to
Webby had a horrible time in the Premier League, and he was great all that year.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not saying for all, but and things are slightly different now. Of course, there's so many more opportunities. Back in that sort of era when they were playing, if you didn't take the opportunities with both hands, you had to wait a long time before another opportunity was there. The sport's different. I mean, you look at that lineup of players and how they approach the sport. You know, it's all good for the right reasons, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think and that opening night, just to see Van Veen and Littler go back at it. And again, Van Veen will want to put down a bit of a marker and try and prove a point, but good luck with that.
And just a word on Antwerp. We've got a new city that we're visiting this year in Antwerp. Dan, as a European tour connoisseur, you must be delighted that we're heading over there.
I mean, yes. I'm a little concerned that the sort of Belgian boom, and there definitely was a boom, it might already be coming to an end. It's really weird. Like the darts manufacturers, it's some of their biggest markets. People going absolutely mad in Belgium. Speaking to the guys out there, it does seem like it's tailed off a bit. Maybe a Premier League night is exactly what they need. And they've still got Euro tours as well out there. Maybe that's exactly what they need to kickstart things again. Because I tell you what, at the moment, Belgian darts is not looking brilliant. Dimitri van den Berg is all over the place. Kim Huybrechts is not the force he was. And Mike de Decker has not done what everybody expected him to do since winning that World Grand Prix. And of course, we saw him have that nightmare defeat to David Munya at the World Championship. So certainly de Decker has work to do this year. And he's going to be a significant figure if he is going to keep this interest in Belgian darts going along. Because I think when they agreed to this, when they'd set this up, which was probably, 18 months ago they were looking at it, then they're probably thinking, well, Mike de Decker will probably be part of that Premier League lineup. When he's nowhere near it.
Yeah, I think you could put that lineup anywhere in Europe, and it'll be a sellout eventually, because it is such an exciting lineup. And of course, the Luke Littler effect, and of course Gian van Veen, although he's not from Belgium, it's not too far away, so a lot of travelling fans will be down there. And Antwerp's a great little city. I lost in the final there, you know.
Good darting history.
Merv King.
Again.
But I think it's going to be brilliant. And it might be what it needs there, just to reinvigorate the interest in the sport out there. Because Dan's right, the Belgian players got a bit to do, and hopefully a new one's not going to be too far away.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to join us for the Premier League in any of these 17 cities, have a look at the places we're going. We start in Newcastle, we move to Antwerp, we visit other cities across Europe. We have Antwerp in there, Berlin. Across England, we have Sheffield, Manchester, Liverpool. If you'd like to join us in any of these cities, have a look at any tickets that are going, because we've got a bumper 17 weeks ahead for that. Well, I think that mostly wraps us up. So, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Dan, for joining us. Any last words you want to say before?
No, looking forward to going down to the qualifiers for the Masters, and it's the first big one after the Worlds, really, in terms of ranking events, and really excited to see how this one plays out, and excited to see who comes through the qualifiers. And maybe like Dan was saying, someone like a Jimmy Van Schie would light up that stage, because he's got some presence.
Cristo Reyes.
There you have it, guys. Cristo Reyes. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you very shortly.